So now we've come to the time of the service where you might have read ahead of time the title of the presentation today. With Reverend Amy gone, we're having several of our members, 3 of them in fact, Soledad, who you've already met, and we also have the Czechs here, Taelynna and Ben, and they are going to describe to you in their own words the title, This I Believe, Why I Am a UU. And I believe the order has been picked, the straws have been picked. Taelynna got the short straw, she goes first, followed by Ben, and then Soledad. Good news is you just stand right here and you don't have to say the mic will pick you up.
Okay. Hi, I'm Taelynna. UUC is a magical place. Driving in under the trees feels like moving through the wardrobe to Narnia. I leave behind the city, the wars we're living under, and the constant mental bombardment against my grounded self. And I can feel the safety of the birds and the animals experience in this place, with its abundance of food in the food forest and the positive energy of the humans who enter this place. I grew up in an abusive household, and church was one of my refuges. I loved feeling like part of a community of people who truly cared for each other, and I loved the community service we performed at the local and international levels. I felt like I was a part of something positive until my brother died, and then the church refused to allow us to use the space to hold a wake without doing the religious funeral rites. My brother was spiritual, but he was not religious, and my parents chose to honor his wishes. Church took on a new meaning, one of community, so long as. That same year, the United Methodist Church decided to make a statement against gay marriage, and I felt the positive feelings I once associated with church settle into something very different. Coming here to UUC, to services on Sunday, is difficult for me sometimes because it does feel churchy. There are a lot of similarities: the music, the organization of the service, the sermon. There's more of a Christian lean to the service, and those things are hard for me to sit through sometimes. But it's worth it. Working to overcome my personal difficulties to enter this space is worth it. The feeling of entering Narnia is still here within these octagon walls, and the feeling of safety with the animals that the animals feel is here. The people here have a positive energy of love, and the more I am able to interact, the more I am able to feel that love, which is not so long as, but rather a strong desire to help. UUC is a community of love and the energy that can heal and help so many people, and it already has. I am UUC because I want to be part of that positive, loving energy and help us grow our love ever inward and outward. Thank you.
Thank you, Taelynna. That was great. Ben?
Well, she's a much better writer than me, so it's going to be hard to top that one. Thanks, Taelynna. Hi, everybody. I'm Ben. So when I think about why I choose to be part of the Unitarian Universalists, my mind doesn't start with the grand theological debates and abstract philosophies. It starts on the playground. I don't know how old I was when my parents first took me here. I was pretty young. My earlier memories are in the sandbox, on the swings, searching for Easter eggs, listening to the birds and the squirrels in this calm place that somehow seemed to move slower than the rest of the world. UUC was simply a safe place where I could just be a kid. As I got a bit older, my parents became a little bit more involved in the church. I still have vivid memories of my dad playing Santa Claus at one of the Christmas services and helping to build the haunted houses. My childhood is packed with happy foundational memories surrounded by supportive people. Eventually, around middle school, my family moved to Palm Harbor, and that made the drive to Clearwater pretty significant, so my parents stopped bringing my brother and I. In my teen years, my parents got a divorce, and my father moved out, and my mom and I moved back to Clearwater, right off of Harn and US 19, which put us pretty close to UUC. I think we missed the community that we had here, so we started attending services again. By this point, I was old enough to appreciate the intellectual discussions and constructive debates that UUC supported. I was no longer a kid with ADHD trying his absolute best to sit still until the children were finally dismissed. I was actually a growing adult at this point with my own opinions of the world, and UUC felt like a rare, safe space where I could explore and talk about these ideas without fear of reprisal. The sense of active community engagement spilled over into action as well. I started attending protests and marches, participating in food drives, and getting my hands dirty with real volunteer work, living out those values of trying to build a fair and compassionate world. As I got older, the social fabric of the church became as important as the physical space to me. I became close friends with Ito, Eliseo Santana's son, Abimanyu, Abi's son, Hannah, the Cron family's daughter, and many others. Cassie Alderman was our teen director at that point, and she was an incredibly supportive and loving presence. I remember feeling so grateful that I had a safe space that I could talk openly about real teen issues like sex and drugs and all of it without judgment. Flash forward a few years, and I moved out from my parents' house and started exploring the world on my own. I didn't live close to UC anymore, so naturally my attendance faded. As I ventured out, I discovered a deep passion for music festivals and found myself immersed in a whole new community. It was a crowd that was open-minded, deeply creative, wonderfully expressive, and full of young and old people of all relationship styles, straight, gay, lesbian, polyamorous, you name it. I think being a Unitarian, I felt instantly at home. Music festivals put me on a path to discover Burn culture. Burns are similar to a music festival, but with more intention. The music festival crowd was always a supportive community, but the Burner community took it to the next level. There are 11 core principles of Burners that include radical inclusion, unconditional gift giving, decommodification, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, communal effort, civic responsibility, leave no trace, participation, immediacy, and consent. For me, this ethos elevated everything for me. It immediately reminded me of the foundational principles that I learned years earlier as a Unitarian. But the challenge with Burns is that they only happen once per year, so the rest of the time, they're back in the real world. I think partly for that reason, my wife Taelynna and I were both actively seeking a steady year-round place for community. When we moved to Gibsonton, even though it's about an hour's drive to UUC, I was still excited to share the place that I grew up with Taelynna, my wife, and bring her here. She's slowly warming up to it. I want to see UUC to continue to grow, to remain a safe and supportive haven for all members of society, especially those who need it most. I want to bring my own life experiences to help shape what this community can become, and I want to help bridge the gap to other people my age into that. And that's why I choose to come to UUC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for sharing that with us. Soledad.
Buenos días. My name is Soledad. My pronouns are she and her. Why UU? Simple. It allowed me to create my own spiritual path. A path that I know I will share with those whose explanation of the sacred is different from mine, yet we are all willing to work on deeds and not to dispute our creeds. I grew up in Puerto Rico, and I had two very distinct experiences with religion and education, Catholic and Jehovah's Witness. Both of them offered very limited and strict guidelines for you and for me to share the Spirit. So I left both behind when I migrated to this country in 1973, Northern California. It was not until 15 years later that I found myself in dire need of a spiritual guidance. My friends in the arts, LGBT community, they were suffering from AIDS. And the only few organizations, but the one that was educating people and bringing research information, were the Unitarians in San Francisco. So they provided a place for the interweave committees to take place, and they welcomed me, even though I was not a member of their committee, with open arms. It was then in this liberal faith that I began my journey, my own spiritual journey, in a way that it embraces the most important affirmation that I have for myself. It is more important to be in relationship than to be right. So my heart, my hope, when I walk into every meeting that I come in this congregation, is that I know fully well that I'm going to meet those folks who do think differently than I do. However, they do have a mutual commitment to our spirit, our relationship with one another, and to the communities within these walls and outside of those walls, as we share and we bow to the mystery. This congregation, my only hope is that we can all learn how to shake our bonbons together. Gracias.
Thank you, Soledad, and again, thank all three of you for when you were asked, you agreed, and we do appreciate it because I know you have to do self-reflection, think about it, get it down on paper, and then get up in front of everybody to share it with us. And you did it, and we really appreciate it. It was wonderful to hear why each of you is a UU. Thank you.